はいはい、どうも。だかちょっと初見プレイなんでよくわかんないんですけど、昔あったダンジョンメーカーなんだっけ？ダンジョンを作って勇者を撃退するゲーム？わからんけど。これ今無料でダウンロードできます。面白いのかな？とりあえずチュートリアルから。10時ぐらいまでやって、10時から間近みの枠を取って、こんばんは。準備できた。
Dungeon Basics. The newcomer evil should learn the basics of dungeon management.
なんか勇者が魔王を倒すゲームばっかりやん。たまには魔王が勇者を倒すゲームがあってもいいんじゃない？
Good choice. In this childishly simple introductory mission, it would learn the basics of dungeon management. Things like digging, building rooms, and hiring and firing creatures. Everything a novice evil needs to know. First of all, it admired the center of its power, the dungeon heart. This, if possible, should never be broken, as that would lead to an inglorious and permanent end to the definitely wanting to avoid this at all costs evil. Naturally, the most important resource for any evil genius was gold. One can make the best things out of the glittering metal, and nary a creature was going to let the absolute evil hire it and push it around without a coin or two. Sad, I know, but that's the way the cold, hard capitalist world of evil works. Although a little gold could also be stored in the dungeon heart, the little snots, the strange name-giving evil's workers, had to travel long distances to do so. It made much more sense to build a treasury nearby. The fast evil immediately began doing so. これを sometimes the bored evil's little snots didn't work quickly enough. That was the time to give them a hearty slap with the hand of terror. Naturally, this had to be done immediately.
これでいけるの？あ、いける。どうしたらいいの？平手打ち。
Calculating evil threw a cagey glance at its population limits. These were divided into little snots and creatures. As opposed to creatures, little snots did not have to be hired separately, but were always regenerated up to the maximum limit. And so it was that the massacring evil didn't have to worry if one of these miserable creatures died. It simply had to wait for the next one. At the same time, unfortunately, creatures were a little more demanding than the miserable little snots. A hideout would have to be researched before creatures such as goblins and orcs could be hired. As loyal as the little snots were, they were unable to fight and took to their heels in panicked flight at the first sight of an enemy. Sighing, the unscrupulous evil set about providing a
どうやって掘
hideout.
んの？どっから掘っていくの？やり方がちょっと不親切やな、教え方が。掘り方がわからへん。掘りましょうだけ言われてもわからへんけど。あ、金貨を持ってたから掘れなかったのか。どっちから掘っていったらいいの？隠れ家を研究。
The army craving evil had hired a creature which would from now on do its dirty work. However, each creature consumed a population point. Fortunately, these could be increased just like the number of workers. Should it become necessary to recover a population point, the maliciously grinning evil could always use the egress located at its dungeon heart. Simply toss the creature onto it, and
These
creatures were pretty spoiled. Not only did horde creatures demand their own bunks, they also wanted something to eat. Otherwise, they would soon refuse to do any work whatsoever and go on strike. The deeply sullen evil had no choice but to give his creatures a gobbler farm to satisfy their hunger.
魔王な方。メシでどうしたい？四面鳥農場研究。食料確保ですね。
Excellent work. The gobbler farm was now ready. Later, the creatures would also demand other things, but for now, they were satisfied. The fast-learning evil had mastered the first tutorial with flying colors. Excellent work! Evilness. The fast-learning evil quickly set about sending its creatures into the overworld.
リーチャーたちを地上界へ。チュートリアルだからやり方を教えてくれてるだけですよ。
The fast-learning evil had begun the second tutorial. It now more or less knew what it had to do to build a dungeon. Now it would turn to the overworld, where it would sow chaos and destruction. Up there waited a Isle of Good, which just begged to be destroyed. The impatient evil got right down to destroying. Before the overworld could be destroyed, a number of creatures would first have to be brought there. The hand of terror greedily reached out to grab some. First, creatures ventured out into the overworld. The destruction-craving evil could hardly wait to transform all those unbearably rich colors into 50 shades of gray. The drooling evil did not have the omnipotence in the overworld it was used to in the dungeon. Here, it had to direct its creatures the old-fashioned way with orders.
ー。まず視界を仕留めろ。
The Isle of Good had been destroyed. To the ground. This not only made for a more pleasant ambiance, but also produced some lovely evilness, which could be used for research. The researching evil quickly set about spending its evilness. The truth-hungry evil had increased its population limit and could from now on hire more creatures. A great decision. The fantastic evil had understood the basics of the overworld and the advantages of evilness in the blink of an eye. Not that those were difficult concepts, but hey, you take what you can get, so good work. Dungeons for advanced students. The skilled evil quickly learned the skills needed to run a dungeon very efficiently.
有能な悪はダンジョンをとても効率的に運営するための必要なスキルを早くも取得しました。
ダブル。
魔法、遠隔魔法を使ったりする。
The knowledge-thirsty evil obviously couldn't get enough of these crazy tutorials. All right then, let's improve our knowledge of the dungeon. The absolute evil's creatures gathered experience from battles over the course of time, and thus reached new levels. This was to be welcomed, as higher-level creatures were much more powerful.
ダンジョンを掘り進めていったらなんかこういうのがあるから。
Also became harder to please as their levels increased, and had the impudence to demand new things.
酒くれ。
Unbelievable. Well, that borders on treason. Bored creatures, for example, would later demand beer that they themselves produced in the brewery. But the brewery was still a long way off, as the annoyed evil's little snots had once again proved their lack of intelligence and hadn't built any workplaces in the dungeon. Toolboxes would later be needed for the brewery. These were produced by little snots at workplaces in the workshop. Sighing, the once again disappointed by its workers' evil, set about building the workplace. The little snots willingly set to work producing toolboxes with a stupid grin on their faces. These were needed to build the workplace in the brewery. A cast-iron brewing kettle made out of toolboxes? Computer game logic. The not particularly known for its patience evil patiently waited for enough toolboxes to be available.
ちょい落ちます。
はい。道具箱を4つ生産して。
The splendid evil had finally produced enough toolboxes by waiting in boredom. It quickly set about building the brewing kettle.
研究所みたいなのがある。ある程度守りやすい感じでダンジョン作らないと、地上とつなぐにしてもなんか。
The brewing kettle stood proudly, and the diligent little snots went directly to work producing the delicious brew, so that the horde creatures could soon start knocking it back. All that was missing was someone playing some good old-fashioned folk music. Then again, maybe not. Always makes my ears bleed. But now for something completely different, as the hard-working evil now had access to the lecture hall. There, additions to normal research in the form of scrolls could be made for small amounts of gold, time, and evilness. The always slathering for something new evil quickly began to try them out.
Davis?
Yes, my grandmother always found that a good choice. Ah, a good choice.
Ha ちゃんと生活してるやん。
Payday. Splendid work. The good-humored evil
アルチクリスチャーたちの欲求を満たしてあげただけだ。
but at the same time learned more about research. It now considered itself well equipped to begin converting the lessons learned into evil, nasty deeds. The final exam. The chock full of knowledge evil now faced the challenge of preparing its
地上側も遊べたりするのかな。
And now it's time for a good book.
漫画は準備 OK です。
And if I were to make myself a drink, I could. Oh, wait. You're here? What? I thought we'd done all the tutorials. What do you mean the menu offers a fourth tutorial? But I don't have any more documents for that. I'd love to work with professionals just once. Those boneheads at Realmforge can't even get the main menu right.
タイマ忍ぶダンジョン3が1100プとニコニコ広告しました。
Well, since you're already here, we can. Oh, crap.
YouTube.
Third person.
なんでや。
Well, since the already arrived evil was already there, probably to get that drink, the keeping the narrator from his hard-earned drink and his lovely Marvel comic book evil commenced yet another tutorial. In this one, it would, learn something about, traps and spells, like, how to make and use them. It was a pretty, free-form tutorial, as if someone had just made it up really quickly. It was about defending the dungeon against attacking heroes. A few traps had already been placed. These were ready to make life difficult for every hero that approached them. Some others were manually triggered by a blow from the hand of terror. Here, timing was everything. The Arcanium already held a lot of mana ready to be used for powerful spells.
罠とか結構置けるんや。悪のポータル。何やるの？魔法を使用してください。
A suspicious trampling of heavy boots and clanging of armor was heard in the dungeon. Soon, the first heroes would enter the dungeon.
初めて英雄の群れ。
触手だらけにし
Enemies
よ
have
う。
entered the dungeon.
マナ爆弾。メテオシャワー。
女騎士はよ。
うっこら。
There are enemies in your dungeon. Enemies have entered the dungeon.
ダメージ受けた。
なのになぜ隕石が。
Payday.
滅ぶ石。洞窟 窟入った瞬間にマナ爆弾踏むっていう。ゾンビがやられた。
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
リアルタイムで穴を置いていく系なんですね。
触手強いやん。本当はもっとこっちで、ぼーっとしてるオークとかを使って、戦わせるんだろうけど、マナ爆弾はマナ爆弾が強すぎる。あんまりこの矢降らすやつ強くないな。メテオシャワー。洗脳。ポータルを外に出してとかできんの？
Defend the dungeon heart. Enemies have entered the dungeon.
強っこれ強っ。大田機械。しばいたら。女エルフが来てるじゃないですか。
ムービーは
オーク 奥いない。ゴブリン、ゴブリン。あかん。死んじゃう。一匹じゃダメやな。
Your dungeon heart is under attack.
ゴブゴブしてきた。
けけけけけけ。
Payday. All right. Excellent work. The last
ヒーラーやったんか、あ
hero
いつ。
has been fended off. The tutorial was finished. Finally, I can get back to my gin and tonic. I mean, super. Well done. So, now it's time you turn to other things. Things that don't stop me from drinking and from reading my comic. The shadow of absolute evil. The shadow of absolute evil had crossed the sea and now
絶対
sought
悪
the
の影が
chosen
海を渡っ
target,
てる。
a dark elf
ターゲット
named
探してました。
Talia. A long, long time ago, the absolute evil had, in the famous predecessor to this game, subjugated the known world and defeated good.
有名な前作でよく知られた。
In a world full
目
of
立ってません。
blackness and despair, it spent its days sipping cocktails from the skulls of its enemies and forging new
織田信長。
plans over a grilled unicorn kebab. Unfortunately, there wasn't much left to forge. A few orc wedges, the occasional trick played on the little snots. There just wasn't anything left to conquer. As the weeks and months passed, the absolute evil grew ever more reticent and seclusive. From time to time, one could hear a slight murmur from the depressed evil's secret laboratory in the depths of the dungeon.
だからあれやな、ゴブリンスレイヤーのゴブリン側の、ゴブリン側でできるゲームですね。
It was a somewhat confusing time for them. No beatings, no torture, and no being sent to a senseless death. On the other hand, it was a rather nice change. Eons passed,
ナザリッ
and
ク
the
とか。
unicorn supply dwindled until suddenly, one wonderful day, the evil genius evil joyfully burst from its super secret
オーバーロードになるってことか。
laboratory. It finally had a new goal. An unknown continent, as often found in sequels, lay to the east, sheltered from the wicked evil by naught but a puny little ocean. It immediately had a fleet built. This was so powerful that it covered the horizon from north to south and was manned by the best and most powerful creatures at the devious evil's command. The fleet set sail for the crossing to this new continent,
港を立ちましたら沈ん
left
で
the
しまいま
harbor, and sank. Yet that mattered
沈み
not.
方。
He couldn't give a hoot about its minions' evil. It instructed its goblins and little snots to design an even more powerful fleet. These new ships were gigantic, loaded with devious evil's second best
またもや
creatures.
沈み
The
ました。
fleet set out, and that sank as well.
面白いな、このゲーム。
The annoyed evil saved his relentless
悪
anger
は頭
towards
に
the
来ました
shipbuilders for later. Obviously, it would have to take care of the matter itself.
ご立派なことに怒りを造船職人にぶつけることはあり
And
ませんで
created
した。
a shadow of itself, a creature of absolute darkness and evilness. This shadow flew across the water towards the east. There, it would find a vessel, a corruptible being that would subjugate this land in the name of evil.
沈み
And
方
the
が昭
shadow
和。
had the perfect target in mind.
これ無料でダウンロードして遊べるの良くない？ピックゲームス入れといた方
The
がいいよね。
great paladin Tanos, hero of the totally eastern kingdoms and a repugnantly good fellow. He was
マルチ
visiting
プレイ
the
もできるらしい
fatiguing
よ、このゲーム。
library in Tristram with his
何
comrades
するんか
to
わ
see
からん
his
けど。
foster daughter Talia.
協力して、あれなのかな。
Well now, Talia, tell me about your studies. Are you making progress with the writings of the ancient sages?
Yes, dear father. I have thoroughly digested it and have come a step closer to the good. The desire within me to do evil is defeated.
Really? Excellent. I
食
am
スプレ
proud
イ
of you, my
難
child.
聴。
Continue to concentrate on your studies. I must go to Stormbreeze to clear up a
タリアっていうダークエルフはパラディンに拾われて、
Meantime, my loyal friend Grimly will
悪の
protect
心を
us.
忘れて、
Should anything trouble you, you can turn to him.
ことな
That
のか
right, Grimly?
Aye, of course, Janos. I'll keep an eye on
ちょっと
it
ウォークラフト
down
味ある
there.
よ
You-
な。
I mean,
ユニ
you
ットが。
don't. You can count on me.
Then I'll see you soon, my friends. May the goddess watch over you, and the light burn eternally.
Bon voyage, dear father. I'll make you so proud of me. Who does good is good.
エピックゲームスというのはメーカーですか？
メーカーですね。スチームみたいなもの。ゲーム作ってる。フォートナイトっていうゲームとか作ってる。
One moment a herd of sheep was peacefully grazing, and the next moment, whomp! With a fulminant explosive effect that ate up half our special effects budget, the shadow
ア
entered
ッ
the
プルと
world.
喧嘩してるとこ？
His
そ
target, a dark elf caught between good and
やったっけ？
evil, was very close. As the shadow of the unspeakably evil moved through the world, all around it died. Plants withered. Animals perished. Sort of like a picnic with my family. The shadow of the far-off evil found itself very, very close to Twistram. It could practically feel its target's presence.
Take these lanterns, men, and let the light of the goddess shine. For the night is dark and full of terrors. And there's a pile of horse poo around here somewhere.
この影が主人公で、タリア
For
っ
the
ていう
darkness. I mean, for the light. Sorry.
ダークエルフに乗り移
I'm
んの
still
か
in
な。
training.
Yes, well, that is somewhat suboptimal. Naturally, the shadow of the almighty evil was an incredibly powerful creature. But, well, light was a bit of an issue. It would certainly be wise to stay out of the lantern light. The shadow reached the entrance to Twistram. Fortunately, this one was not closed, but it was brightly lit. Luckily,
個人
there
的
was
に
an
は3割
unfortunate
はそ
guard
こま
on
で
patrol
高くないと
that
思
the
う。
shadow was able to possess, thanks to its incredible powers. As long as it wasn't in the light. The shadow of absolute evil melded with the guard and took control of his body. Thus, it was able to pass through the gate with ease.
What was that? I think there was something wrong with our last beer.
Unfortunately, the shadow's possession only lasted a short while before the guard was able to free himself. Still, it was long enough to get past the gate. The shadow's target was close, so close. Talia, the dark elf. Soon she would fight on the side of evil.
はっはっはっはっは。
May the goddess be with you, my friends. It will soon be time to open the orphanage in the fatiguing library. Come to the big square and join in the festivities.
Well, I don't know. I had actually kind of planned to spend the evening in the bathhouse.
Friends, this orphanage is very important to my father. Tanos, you know, the mighty paladin, the one you really don't want to offend.
Yeah, all right. We'd
脅
love
迫
to
か。
come.
Excellent.
パワハラや、パワハラ。
May the light of the goddess shine upon you, and let us experience this exhilarating spectacle
悪
in
の
the
ために。
big square together.
ちょっと漏れてますよ。
Follow me, my friends, for evil, the light, I mean. Keep the light burning bright, for the night is dark and full of terrors or errors or something like that.
光と闇が合わさり最強に見える。
ダメージ受ける。
Stop holding the lantern in my face like that, boy. I am Grimly, king of the dwarves, and I am used to the cold, dark tunnels under the mountains. I have no need of it.
In the distance, one could hear the unbearably good bells of a church. They must be marking the opening of the orphanage in the fatiguing library. Heroes, with lanterns, began to stream in that direction. The crossing on a red signal evil shadow swore, or would have, if it had a mouth, and tried to avoid the lanterns as much as possible.
Gathered here to open this orphanage in the fatiguing library for our goddess, and in the name of my father Tanos, I'm glad to see so many of you here of your own free will.
Finally, the time had come, and the shadow of the past...
My dear father would be very proud were he with us today. He would be overjoyed to see us give the young and the needy a place to live and thrive. That's why I'm happy to
私がとても楽しくこの孤児院を
this orphanage and destroy it utterly, and all of you with it.
What did she say?
Die! I'll tear you to pieces.
強っ
I feel the power within me. Oh, it's over 9,000!
Unimagined powers surfaced in Talia, the black magic of the Dark Elves. She immediately began to unleash these powers of chaos upon the world.
I'll tear you to pieces. I will kill you all!
The Dark Elf raged through Twistrom's inexperienced guards. She thereby
戻して
built up a tremendous inner energy, which she released into the world as a focus beam,
カメハメ
while
ハ
screaming Kamehameha! Meanwhile, in the fatiguing library,
縁か
they
ほんまに
waited
それ大丈
eagerly
夫
with coffee and cake for Talia to show up and open the new orphanage. The
カメハメハ
energy
と
beam
言いながら
hit
魔
the
法
cake
を打
with
ち
a
ました
resounding zap and reduced it to ashes. Oh yes, and the rest of the building and everyone inside it as well. The narcissistic evil patted itself on the shoulder for this. Or it would have, but the metal armor always made such a terrible clonking noise when it tried. But then again, that's what little snots are for. Obviously, the dispatch shadow had found a perfect vessel in the Dark Elf. Talia had already earned the title of Employee of the Month, with the utter destruction of the fatiguing library, as well as half of Twistram.
Ooh.
The destruction of an orphanage and the bombardment of innocent citizens with magic missiles immediately made her the minion-wasting evil's new favorite henchperson. Her evil deeds complete, Talia withdrew into the vaults beneath the ruins of the fatiguing library. There, between the slaughterhouse and mad Archbishop Lazarus's apartments, she prepared to create something powerful in the name of the absolutely ultimately evil. A dungeon heart, the cornerstone of any dungeon's power. Far away, Paladin of Light and Talia's former mentor, Tanos, was on his way to the Empire's capital of Stormbreeze. Naive and trusting as he was whistling cheerfully to himself, with no inkling of his foster daughter's dark deeds. Though he was aware that as a dark elf, she always had a core of evil in her. He had hoped to defeat it through religious indoctrination with ancient mad writings. Well, old bean, you thought wrong.
Welcome.
Twistram in ruins. Talia, the shadow of absolute evil. The shadow of absolute evil had crossed the sea and now sought the chosen target. A dark elf named Talia.
達成できてない。もう一回プレイする。
A long, long time ago.
ダメージ受けずにいかんなあかんねんて。
The great paladin Tanos, hero of the as the shadow of the unspeakably evil moved through the world, all around it died. Plants withered, animals perished. Sort of like a picnic with my family.
ウサギさんに憑依できひんの。
The shadow of the far-off evil found itself very, very close to Twistram. It could practically feel its target's presence.
Take these lanterns, men, and let the light of the goddess shine. For the night is dark and full of terrors. And there's a pile of horse poo around here somewhere. I trod in it earlier. For the darkness! I mean, for the light! Sorry, I'm still in training.
Yes, well, that is somewhat suboptimal. Naturally, the shadow of the almighty evil was an incredibly powerful creature. But, well, light was a bit of an issue. It would certainly be wise to stay out of the lantern light. The shadow reached the entrance to Twistram. Fortunately, this one was not closed, but it was brightly lit. Luckily, there was an unfortunate guard on patrol that the shadow was able to possess, thanks to its incredible powers. As long as it wasn't in the light.
What was that? I think there was something wrong with that.
Stop holding the lantern in my face like that, boy. I am Grimly, king of the...
In the distance, one could hear the unbearably good bells of a church. They must be marking the opening of the orphanage in the fatiguing library. Heroes, with lanterns, began to stream in that direction. The crossing on a red signal evil shadow swore, or would have if it had a mouth, and tried to avoid the lanterns as much as possible.
Gathered here to open this orphanage in the fatiguing library for our goddess, and in the name of my father Tanos, I'm glad to see so many of you here of your own free will.
Finally, the time had come, and the shadow of the passes in the slow lane evil was within range of Talia.
My dear father would be very proud were he with us today. He would be overjoyed to... Like lambs to the slaughter! I feel the power within me. Oh, it's over 9,000!
Unimagined powers surfaced in Talia, the black magic of the Dark Elves. She immediately began to unleash these powers of chaos upon the world.
Like lambs to the slaughter!
戻されるんや。行ける場所決まってんねんな。
I will kill you all!
The Dark Elf raged through Twistrom's in...
一発食らったからダメなの。
Absolute evil. The shadow of absolute evil had crossed the sea a long
難しいね、意外と。簡単そうに見えて。
The great paladin Tanos, hero, as the
間違えてスタートしちゃったけど。
unspeakably evil moved through the world. All around it died. Plants withered. Animals perished. Sort of like a picnic with my family. Twistrom in...
光と闇が合わさりっていうか、闇と闇が合わさっただけなんだよな。
Twistrom looked like the leftovers from a heavy metal concert.
What? What have I done? Oh no! I've fallen to evil again. Father will be beside himself. He was right when he said, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Although, in a way,
でも少し楽しかったわ。
fun to be evil. Burning things, pillaging, and showing those nasty goody two-shoes where the hammer hangs. They just look down at me anyway. My revenge will be terrible.
While Tanya was delivering a typical villainous monologue, something happened around her. From the depths arose a pulsating crystal, filled with the magic-savvy evil's power. A dungeon heart. Not to be confused with those dungeon hearts from other games. We don't want to be sued again.
しっかり伸ばし、
What seems to be
拠
your...
点をしっかり築きつつの、
Secret mental messages were exchanged between Talia and the mentally savvy evil's crystal. We could explain this in detail at this point, but that would require a 3-hour monologue or more.
私はそれくらいの給料をもらえてません。
Not being paid enough for that.
Right then. I will make these people suffer for mocking me. Father's henchmen never liked me anyway, and always insulted me, calling me pointy-eared. It's time for my well-deserved revenge!
The game logic internalizing evil had given Talia an assignment. Out there on the surface were shamelessly good places in urgent need of destruction.
Nah, no problem. I'll take care of it. I and
左のマップが地上で、
Naturally, the strategically
右のマップがダン
well-versed
ジョン。
evil did not send its new general into battle alone. A dungeon had to be built, and creatures hired to provide her with a powerful army. Of course, the sophisticatedly thinking evil already knew which way the wind blew in a dungeon. However, should it be hit by short-term memory loss, it could effortlessly look up things in the fabulous almanac.
どうしようかな。どっちに掘り進めよう。
日本なら倫理的に OK なムービーつけれるぞ。
The grandiose evil's helpers had not been idle. Well, they hadn't exhausted themselves either, but anyway, there were now some research projects the researching evil could pursue. The new improved research menu, TM, was now available. The new improved research menu, TM, opened and gave an overview of currently available technologies. At the moment, the selection was still limited, but that would change. After all, this evil crusade had only just begun. Uh-oh, a spider nest has been unearthed. The bustling evil had discovered a room in the underground.
「多くのチビたち」あれどうやって雇うんやったっけな。あー、七面鳥。ちょっと下手くそやな、作り方が。
Payday.
違えあれ、もう倒した後か。研究新しいのをしようと思ったらどうしたらいいの？講義室っていうのはどうやって作るんだろう？掘り進めていかないとダメなのかな。もっと。寝とる。あ、もしかして今は作られへんのかな？チュートリアルみたいなもんで。出てこないもんな。最大まで。これが最大か。
I am the evil.
Blinding beams of light met the dauntless evil's creatures.
エルフ発
They
見。
briefly squinted at the disgusting brightness. Finally, they grinned, satisfied. At last, they were able to carry the battle to the good people and were not limited to protecting themselves in a dungeon,
グヘ
as
ヘ。
is the case with other representatives of the genre.
Yeah, what is going on here? I feel disturbance in force.
The deeds of the conspicuous evil and its henchmen had not gone unnoticed. As a matter of fact, even a blind man could see the destruction they left behind them. As idiotic heroes do, they sent out a small patrol to scout the area.
Move out, men. Have a look around and report back to me. While I would love to accompany you myself, I'm currently, teaching myself to play the ukulele.
小さいからやらないんだな。
It's payday.
.一回帰って、あ、大丈夫か。
The armies of evil reached one of those disgustingly good places that had survived the destruction of Twistram. The ice-cold hand, I mean evil, would deal with it immediately.
Not gonna get up.
The little town of Good was destroyed and turned into a hotbed of evilness. Cracks formed on the surface, and something, yes, evil, rose from the depths. This evilness, in a practical spherical form, was the sweet lifeblood which flowed through the personified evil's veins.
なんかすごいことにな
It
ってる。
stimulated the armies of evil and swelled their power. All this lofty blah blah
せっかく
without
帰ろう。
any impact on the game aside, it was another resource primarily or exclusively used for more powerful research. Delicious evilness flowed into the dungeon heart and filled it with power. New research was thus made available, which would help the dungeon to even greater power. The impatient evil immediately began to research something.
クリスチャンの給料が減少します。
The exploring evil's little snots had discovered a room in the underground.
Wasn't that the Staggering Pony Tavern? By the goddess, I won't be getting any more roast pork there.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
Hey, where does this lead? We should take a closer look.
The first heroes had discovered the not-so-well-hidden evil's dungeon and now entered its depths. Of course, the insidious evil had already prepared a despicable reception for them. At least I think so.
Even if that's not the case, I will kill these ridiculous do-gooders myself. They will pay for mocking me over the years. Wait a minute. What am I saying? Those are my friends. How can I plan their deaths?
Talia had chosen an extremely unfavorable time for moral duds. Luckily, her evil dark elf heritage prevailed. Hey, Talia, you're evil, so act like it.
What? Oh, yeah, okay. Kill them all!
Payday.
地上まで繋ぐのこれ、自分でやりたいよな。ボードの強化。
I am even stronger!
寝床をちゃんと作ってあげないとダメなの。
Who do you want dead?
ヒーラーもいるし、いけるやろ。エルフがいっぱいいる。
The second island of the good was mercilessly overrun by the strategically savvy evil's hordes and turned into an evil island. Soon, more of that exquisite evilness would be bubbling to the surface. Excellent. Even better than in Dungeons 2. Not that I'm out to plug it or its fantastic add-on or anything. I'd never do that.
サキさん。殺さないと。
Hey there. Huh? The armies of evil here? Damn it all, how did that happen? Time to call out the heavy guns. Right then, get ready to attack in waves.
Excuse me, sir. Wouldn't it make more sense if we attacked all at once?
Where's the fun in that? Wave after wave, that's a strategy for real.
もう一人ヒーラー欲しい。
Thanks to the enemy's limited tactical finesse, their destruction was virtually unavoidable. So it was time to decorate for the victory celebration, to get the beer and hire the orc dancers.
持って帰らんなあかんねん。
Orcs. I shudder at the thought.
They're going to be child's play. Leave them to me. I mean, hold them back and let them hit you while I deal with them.
Hey, wasn't that Vinny's vegan cuisine? Oh well, no real loss there.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
守るだけじゃなくて攻めないとダメなのが若干めんどくさいな。
Your dungeon heart is under attack.
ダンジョンハートにダメージを受けていますだと？なんか攻めてきてる。守備兵もちゃんと置いとかんなあかんねんな。数が多い、数が多い。
Has been destroyed. Victory is ours. Evil is victorious. Good thing I switched sides.
And so it was that the good camp was destroyed by the battle-wise evil's army. Now it was time to take over all of the good islands. But that would be a cakewalk. Easy as stealing candy from a baby. Candy from a baby? Simple. My ass. Ever tried it? The screaming and crying and fetching their parents and family as reinforcements, and those little beasts bite pretty damn hard. Not that I have any personal experience, of course.
Ultimate, chaotic, absolute, whatever evil will be happy. I am. Father is gonna be so angry.
めっちゃ喜ぶやん。
Do you really know what you're doing? You wanted to be good. You had dedicated yourself to the light. Stop and really think about your deeds.
Can you please just stop with the golem thing? We already had too many Lord of the Rings gags in the last two games. Enough is enough.
Yeah, exactly. Just shut it, good me.
Talia and the destructive evil's army had succeeded in destroying Twistrum and the surrounding area. Good no longer existed in this land.
Why? What the hell happened here?
Apparently not quite all of the good guys were defeated. The dwarven king Grimly, an old drinking buddy of Tanos the Paladin, was just touring the country with his exorbitantly large army to ensure everything was in order. Thank God, the foresighted evil had provided for this contingency. The dungeon heart was charged with evilness and enough energy to act as a teleporter. For Talia, of course.
Ooh, good. Send all the best, brave warriors, and stop them! Right! I'm out of here.
With a plop, Talia dissipated and disappeared to a faraway and safe place. The rest of the sacrificing evil's creatures looked astonished as the general fled, but only for a moment, as they already found themselves facing an unpleasant army of good.
やられていってる。
Look at that damn pointy-eared wench. I always warned Thanos those miserable dark elves couldn't be trusted. Criminals, the lot of them. But enough is enough. I'm going to find that
とんがり耳を引きちぎって。
Use her ears as bookmarks.
結構エグいこと言ってんの。
トスの魔性並みに撤退が早い。
The Gehenna Stones. After leaving the vestiges of Tristram, Talia set out for the Gehenna Stones. They served as seals to keep the demons banished in hell, where Tanos and Tristram in
ブリーチャーを3匹以上失うことなく廃墟と化したツイーツラム任務完了してくだ
and
さい。
laid the fatiguing library in ruins. Now she began to build a small power base in its vaults. The Gehenna Stones.
ゲームが簡単すぎたのなら。
Talia set out for the Gehenna Stones. They served
ゴード。これ、マルチプレイもできんの？キャンペーン。スカーミッシュが多分普通のゲームモードですよね。一応ボスと呼べる強力な英雄を倒しマップで勝利してください。英雄のポータルを通し、英雄たちがあなたのダンジョンに入ってくるはず。マップが終わることなくいつまでも楽しめます。地上界を完全制覇しても出てきます。20回構成をしのぐとゲームで勝利します。サンドボックス。どの英雄も自動的にダンジョンに入場しなくなります。代わりにプレイヤーが直接英雄たちを出動させます。無限モードってすごいな。永遠に出てくんの。少ないデフォルト低い。少ないデフォルト低いって何や。少ないを2回言ってるやん。予想外の状況って何？災害みたいなやつ？シムシティとかの。ランダムパラメータ自分が気に入ったパラメーターがあったらそれを入力したら同じマップが生成されるってこと？マップの大きさか、これ。ボス怪物。 面白いゲームですね。これ、あ、YouTube がなんか YouTube 調子悪いな、今日。とりあえず22時になったんで、配信枠を一旦閉じて、ちょっと、マジカミの枠を取り直したいと思います。これはまた、ちょっと面白そうなんで、別に枠を取ってまたやっていこうかなと思う。一旦終わり。とりあえずマジカミをやるんで。
お疲れ様でした。
はい。一旦枠を取り、すぐ枠取り直しますんで。一旦終わります。